Welcome back. Today we are moving one step further. This is day 4 of 6 for learning target 9. And we are working today with solving multi-step equations with squares. But before we can really truly go ahead and start solving them, we need to know how we define a square. Now I realize that a square to you up until this point for the most part has really meant a four-sided figure where all sides and all angles are the same measure. For this purpose, we are going ahead with a monomial or a binomial that has a power of 2. As is the case with our first example here, which is solve x squared plus 7 equals 23. Now, first we're going to use that order of operations backwards. Today, because we have that square in there, we're going to be using that exponent piece. So if I look at how I would want to build this equation, if I knew what x was and I needed to solve it to show that it equals 23, what I would first do is I'm going to use a little caret, I'm going to square it, and then I'm going to add 7. So when I go ahead and I do my U-turn to undo everything, I'm going to subtract 7, and then if you recall from learning target 7, when we have squaring, we're going to undo squaring by square rooting. So when I look here at x squared plus 7 equal to 23, I am going to use that golden rule of algebra to cancel the operation by first subtracting 7 on both sides. That will go ahead and cancel this, leaving me with x squared, and then 23 minus 7. I can't take 3 minus 7, so I'm going to borrow from the 2, make it a 1. 3 becomes 13. 13 minus 7 is 6, and then I bring down my 1 to get x squared equal to 16. So then my next step is going to be to do that square root. I need to make sure by the golden rule that I square root on both sides. Square root of x squared we learned last unit was x, and the square root of 16 is 4. Now if I go back and I check this, which is really important that we do, I can go ahead and take that, put it back in for x squared. 4 squared is 16. 16 plus 7 does give us 23, so I can check that I did that correctly. So to summarize, step 1, we're going to use that order of operations to plan it out so we know what to undo first, then use the golden rule to cancel those, and then step 3 is to repeat that, and don't forget to check. Checking is very important in this lesson. So let's move on to the next example. Ooh, we're a little bit tougher here. Now we have a binomial. Now, a lot of you would be implied in wanting to FOIL that out or bomb in the squared. Unfortunately, no, we don't bomb in squares, and we are not going to FOIL it out because it'll make it that much more difficult to work with. So to be able to do this, according to my plan, using the PEMDAS or order of operations backwards, I am first going to take x and subtract 4, and then I'm going to square it. So when I do my U-turn, I'm going to undo the squaring by square rooting, and then I'm going to add 4. So first and foremost, I need to square root both sides. So the square root of x minus 4 squared, that's the beauty, because it is squared. What is left is what is in parentheses, x minus 4. The square root of 49 is 7. And these are the kind of equations you dealt with way back in 6th grade. So we're going to go ahead and add 4 to both sides. And once we do that, canceling out the 4's, we get x is equal to 7 plus 4, which is 11. And if I go back and I take this and I substitute it back in for x, 11 minus 4 is 7, and 7 squared does equal 49. Moving on to example C. we have solve x minus 7, the quantity squared, plus 3 equal to 84. This one has a little bit more work, so we want to make sure that we plan ourselves out. Starting from x, I would first subtract 7 from it using order of operations. Then I would square it, and then finally I would add 3 to it to get my final answer. So when I do my U-turn to undo this, I end up subtracting 3 first, then square rooting, then adding 7. So first I'm going to do that subtract of 3. So I subtract 3 from both sides, giving me the quantity x minus 7 squared. These cancel, giving me 84 minus 3, which is 81. Then my second step says square root. So I square root both sides. X minus 7, the quantity squared, all square rooted, which is a mouthful, gives me x minus 7. Square root of 81 gives me 9. And finally, I said that I was going to add 7 to both sides. So I add 7 to both sides, canceling these, giving me x, and 9 plus 7 gives me 16. So then I want to make sure I check this. So I'm going to take my 16, put it in for x. So under my check, I'm going to take 16 minus 7, which is 9. 9 squared is 81. 81 plus 3 does give me 84. So I can check myself off. So what you need to do now, this is a nice short little lesson, you are going to try to solve the quantity x plus 10 all squared minus 4 equal to 21. Bring that ready to discuss in class tomorrow, as well as any questions, and have your summary written.